If you guys need any cards, packs, sleeves, anything of that nature, shop on TCG Player using my affiliate link in the description. What's good, YouTube? I've been working a lot with this deck lately, so I wanted to do a little segment giving a bit of an update. For those of you that don't recognize it, this is, of course, the deck that I've dubbed the Rept-Pile, or Rept-Pile Dandy Warrior, I guess you could also call it. So the basic idea is we're combining the Reptilian Engine with Quick Draw Dandy Warrior because Vasky is a card that you can summon, and it's a neat point of synergy. So I'm going to go over the deck list and the replay pretty in depth, since this is an idea that I've been pretty invested in for a while. So starting off, we have one Ananta. I ended up shaving this down from 2. I'm on 1 right now. I think this card and Quick Draw were just like a little bit too awkward to be played at 2. So they've been cut from 2 to 1 each, which is kind of unfortunate because I do like them, but I think they kind of had to go to 1 for there's a lot of tight space and sort of ratio issues in here that I needed to compensate for. So they both went down to 1. I think it's basically true that you don't get more than like one good sort of Ananta or Drill Warrior going in a game anyway, so it's probably fine, I think. And then, of course, moving on to the rest of the reptiles, we have triple Vasky. This might be a controversial choice. Well, I don't really know how many people actually pay attention to this reptile stuff, but this card, I was playing it at 2. I've even had builds that played at 1, but I kind of made the decision to just full commit on this card. I feel like, first of all, there's cards like Foolish Burial and Scapegoat in here that I like having that are a lot better when you just max out on Vasky, and are kind of awkward when you don't. And also, I feel like Vasky is just like, as I mentioned before, it's the main sort of point of the deck. It's like your big boss monster, which is also searchable, which is neat. But yeah, it's just like so vital to the game plan that I feel like you really need to go to 3, even though you literally can't control more than one at any given time. But like basically, you just summon it, it gets like outed, and then you summon another one, and that's really good. So Vasky just does a lot for you. It's just so easy to summon. It has such a solid effect. Its stats are so crazy, and it's searchable. I feel like the card is actually so strong that you need to just play it at 3. So kind of, I went from 2 and 2 to just 3 and 1 on the big boss monsters, basically. But Vasky is significantly less awkward of a draw than Ananta, I think, and also it's just like more generically useful. Whereas Ananta feels a bit more situational. So I think Vasky is one of the best cards in here. So I'm playing 3. 3 Gardna, still I'm 3 of this, of course, because it's the recruiter, it's the searcher. Obviously, you play 3, and then 1 and 1 of these. I think Naga's kind of overrated. A lot of people play multiple of this, and I don't hate playing multiple. I just feel like, first of all, when you start playing multiple of this, everyone just will like refuse to attack into your sets, and it'll be harder to get off any kind of like, cheesing out Vasky with Naga or putting their guy to 0 and then crashing with Gardna. So I think it like actually makes it easier to sort of resolve good Nagas when you aren't on so many. And then also like it's just a little more situational than people really give it credit for. Like this card doesn't actually go off as often as you might think. There's a lot of times it's kind of awkward against Blackwings. The piercing is awkward against a lot of other decks. They just have Raiko Kaias to out it. So I think 1 is a good ratio. And then on 1 of this, its effect pretty much sucks, but you need to play it because it's an 18 beater, and the deck kind of lacks offensive pressure. So just having a searchable level 4 1800 that you can summon and swing with, pretty good. Like hit over a little monster, poke indirectly, whatever. Gore's Trag, of course, standard. 2 Kaias, 2 Debris. I was on triple Kaias, 1 Debris for a while. I kind of switched it back. I think with triple Vasky, the second Debris becomes a bit better. Also, if we're going to shave down Anantas, but we want to keep Cold Wave, which I kind of do, I feel like you do need to have 2 Debris Dragon. So 2 and 2 is the ratios here have been working pretty well. And as I mentioned before, we cut down to 1 Quick Draw Synchron. Of course, not any shells or anything, so I don't have a ton of ways of enabling it, but it's still kind of important just to have one. You can grab it off Sandgang, get Dandelion out of your hand, get your Drill Warrior going, which is a very good game 1 versus Frogs as well. So I think having 1 is pretty good. Of course, we mentioned before the Dandelions. They're kind of the key to everything here. They're how you're going to be summoning out Vasky like 90% of the time. They go with your Debris Dragons, they go with your Kaises, they go with all kinds of stuff. They just enable everything. So they're sort of part of the You know, Dandy and Vasky are like the connecting glue between the two engines, so super important. Sangan, of course, played in any quick draw deck. Card Trooper, another debris target. Milling, of course, we play Raikou Charge on top of Trooper, mainly just to set up Debris Dragon and Ananta. Yeah, fill up your graveyard with stuff. If you have a Drill Warrior going, it gives you more options to choose from. You know, get the Dandy in rotation as quickly as possible, as well as super important. So I think kind of just going in on this Milling, it's definitely the version that's worked out best in practice. So that's what we're playing. Couldn't fit Hamster in, unfortunately. I don't think that card is bad. It's just competing for space with Gardna, and like we play pretty much like critical mass of set monsters already. So I couldn't really fit Hamster in, unfortunately. I would like to. I've warmed up to that card I could put, but it's just not happening, right? We want to be setting Gardna a lot, and I don't know. These things are just like Gardna's just a better wall than Hamster, you know. Yeah, it doesn't like grab the Raikou from your deck, but it's like it searches your boss monster, and it's a 2K bot that like walls the entire hero beat deck. So gotta make sacrifices. Then of course Allure, tons of darks in here. Foolish, Scapegoat, kind of already mentioned. They just get out Bosky. Brain, Heavy, Typhoon, Cold Wave. Cold Wave's pretty underrated in quick draw decks, I think, in general. And in here you also have the added bonus of it goes really well with Ananta if you do draw it. I mean, it goes pretty well with Bosky too. Like, I don't know, there's just so many situations where it's like you can Cold Wave into Raikou Kai's, Cold Wave, you know, summon Bosky, quick draw Dandy into Drill, and then hit for a bunch, and then pitch for Drill, and it's just like, I feel like Cold Wave is really solid in a lot of situations, especially in the current metagame that is so set heavy. And then, of course, Cold Wave Debris into Black Rose is the classic. So, yeah, traps, we got standard staples of Call the Haunted is, of course, very good because you have triple Gardna that you can revive and get a search with if you chain it. Also, double Bottomless. I'm kind of, I've warmed up to Bottomless a good bit lately. I don't hate it. I hate Deep Prison a lot more, I think, just because it's a battle trap. Whereas Bottomless, there are a lot of times where I feel like I'm playing to my opponent's back row. I'm actually scared of Bottomless, which is just not the case with stuff like Deep Prison. It's a lot more. It's just so much more live and proactive into stuff like Brionac or Dark Arm Dragon or whatever. And it's of course very good against Blackwings, which is a natural kind of tough matchup for quick draw decks. Although I do believe this version kind of handles that matchup better, given you have all the decent walls against that aggro stuff. And then, of course, 2 Offerings of the Snake Deity. This card is a very solid piece of Rept-Pile support. Basically like an Icarus attack. Obviously not completely the same. It will proc your Gardna, which is pretty cool. If you do that, you pretty much win. I mean, you do Icarus attack, and then you just get a +1 that's a free search from your deck, so that's totally crazy. The side, we got a lot of Frog hate. So Double Deck Dev, Mind Crush. We got one Pulling the Rug. I think Pulling the Rug's a lot better in the current metagame than it's been. Double Vanity's Fiend, and then Sidra Crow, pretty standard soul release. Mindcon for the flip matchups. We got Road, Dust Tornado, I kind of just play those and everything. And the extra is just a bunch of debris targets and quick draw targets with some Fortress Dragons. So that's the build. Let's look at the replay. Alright, I had one replay against my teammate Snack. I also have a lot of replays against like bad players and a couple of my friends, but I thought this was probably the most appropriate one to use for a more competitive look into how the deck might actually play. So she was playing Fairies. It's a deck that's out there. Game 1, yeah, we kind of just did her dirty game 1, I'm not gonna lie. We have the Dust Shoot. So we're gonna look at the opponent's hand. I take the Raikou. Yeah, I just want to preserve my Torrential in this matchup. Makes perfect sense. So she's gonna go Dim Alk, just like trying to hit something, which she does eventually do. She hits into the Raikou, we out the Dim Alk. Okay, we still have Torrential behind the Gardna, so looking pretty good. I just pass, hoping she'll summon something, but she doesn't. Here I set Dandy, set, so she just flips Summoner, attacks the new one. But next turn, okay, she sets another monster. I could have summoned Caius here. I decide not to. Alright, I guess that's fine. So now we finally commit to it. Then she Orange Lights, then I flip Torrential. I think that was a pretty good Torrential. I definitely agree with holding it as long as I did. We get Vosky from deck, okay. Then we summon Ananta, get Suppressioned. I could have chained Call, I decided not to. I guess we can just out this with Raikou or Offerings to the Snake Deity, so it's like not an issue. which just looks like that's probably what we're going to do. Milling a lot of our deck here, though. Naga, of course, very good in situations like this. Puts her Angel to 0. Here, she could have crashed the Angel, and I would have had to, like, Offerings or something at that point. But instead, she just hits for damage with Nova Summoner, which, I don't know. I guess she didn't... I think after she told me she didn't know that Zeros could crash in Edison, which... Kind of funny little fact, but it does come up a lot in this deck. The fact that Zeros can crash is usually good for you because it means you can ram Gardna into their 0 attack monsters, which is pretty solid. So here I call Sangan. I decided to go for a Drill Warrior, which I don't even know if this was correct because Drill just gets like dumpstered by the Fairy deck. I decided to Judgment the Freed. I don't want her adding my monster. I feel like we just get game next turn, like unless she has another Orange Light, which she does not. So we should just be winning here, and we are in fact just winning here. So yeah, pretty clean game number 1. I think Fairies is kind of a good matchup for you though, inherently being a quick draw deck, and then also have a lot of tools that are just uniquely good against them. And then game 2 we have Deck Dev as well, which is pretty funny. I guess I didn't talk a whole lot about it, but yeah, you have multiple Vasky, which are all searchable and super easy to summon. So Deck Dev is kind of a pretty cool, crazy sideboard thing you can do. Not a lot of quick draw builds out there are able to play it. And as you can see, I'm going to resolve it right here off of my my Tragodia. It's going to resolve, hit 4 things. Unfortunately, it also sets up the Christia, so she does get a +1 and gets to summon a Christia. We're going to have to deal with that. Here she draws Heavy Storm, doesn't use it right away. If she had used it, she could have negated the Raikou, and then I would have maybe had to use this book to out the Christia, which I think this version of the build that I was playing in this replay was like 1 card or 2 cards different, because I had like Book of Moon and Battle Fader in instead of Bottomless or something. I think that was it. Sorry about that, but yeah. Just thought I would point it out before someone in the comments asked. So here we decide to make Stardust. I feel like she should have just negated this. But she didn't really see what the plan for Gores was, I guess. But I can just flip up Raikou. So I don't know, maybe she didn't think about like Stardust negating the Orange Light or something until it was too late. Here she should have attacked or rammed, but she decided to play greedy with the token, and we just Tribute Summon Gores, hit over, attack. Kind of just dumpstered her with the Deck Dev. These games were unfair, actually. These games were unfair. But it was one of the only replays I had against an actually good player, unfortunately. At least recently, because I've been playing this deck mostly in secret. I've been trying to hide it. But you know, I needed easy content this weekend, so what can you do? And here we of course just book down the Raikou, flip it back up, hit the set monster. So that's going to be the end of the game, and it's lethal no matter what she does. So yeah, Snack going to go down, Fairy's worst deck, etc., etc. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Furthermore, if you enjoy my content, you should think about becoming a channel member. You get access to tons of bonus content, and it's a great way to help support the channel.